the philosophy of drug testing is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. It's just simply wrong. First of all, the perception of drugs in America is quite ridiculous, actually, only fueled by the absolutely ridiculous propaganda shoveled around by mainly religious groups and those that support the tobacco industry. And the whole prohibition derived from essentially racism in America. But let's try to talk specifically about drug tests themselves. See, drug tests essentially fail at exactly what they're trying to prove. See, people think that they can determine someone's character simply by giving them a drug test. That it will somehow explain or define their reliability, their ability to perform well, their character, their manners, priorities, so on and so forth. Many people, including companies, use drug tests simply by a pass or fail standard. You know, if you fail a drug test, then you fail. You know, and if you pass, then you pass. Well, which is stupid. It's just stupid because that's not how it works. There are plenty of hard-working, honest people that consume drugs. That includes alcohol and tobacco. There are plenty of people on government assistance that consume drugs, and that includes alcohol and tobacco. You know, and these can't define someone's character or their habits or other things because, for one, a drug test only tests for specific drugs. So what are you really doing here? You're only testing for specific substances, most of which will only be in your system for a maximum of 5 to 7 days. So after a week of using the majority of the drugs on this list that they're testing, you'll test clean. So that's kind of a ridiculous test to begin with. But not only that, there's a plenty percentage of people that are involved in using prescription drugs, or I guess technically defined as abusing prescription drugs, such as Xanax or Oxycontin, or many others, really. And those aren't on drug tests. So those people get away with whatever it is you're trying to discriminate against. There are people with addictions outside of substances, like pornography, or gambling, or, you know, particular hobbies, you know, that are deemed meaningless by other people. Like, let's say you spend money on paintball. You know, that's an easy one that some of my audience can relate to. You know, maybe you like to play pool excessively. You know, these are all things that a drug test cannot determine. So you're not fixing the problem, nor are you really finding any problem to begin with. Because what you're looking for takes something a lot more complex than a simple drug test. Because it's obviously perceived as a drug test dictates character. I mean, that's essentially the implication of using a drug test. You know, if they do drugs, then they're unreliable, they're a bad person. If they pass the drug test, then they're good people. Which that's ridiculous, because it varies from person to person. And there are plenty of lazy, selfish assholes that are unmotivated to do anything proactive or productive that simply don't do drugs or have any other type of addictions. And that goes without thinking about. And not only that, but it's just because we live in America that people blame drugs for problems. And I'm sure it happens in other countries, but there are some countries that use drugs that's socially acceptable, either in the workplace or as a recreational thing, or whatever it have you. So the entire demeanor of drug tests is blown out of proportion. I don't understand why parents give their kids drug tests. I mean, isn't that like a red flag of trust? And why does it even matter? You know, kids, if you're doing drugs, you know, whatever the drug is, I would find it problematic that your parents can accept that you do that. You can define kid by whatever age you feel necessary, or reasonable for that matter. Because, I mean, at 13 I drank alcohol, you know, and it wasn't consistently or heavily, but certainly by 16 it became more consistent. And I think most pre-17-ish kids experiment with many drugs. I mean, that's just the fucking facts. And obviously in America we have an outrageous drug problem comparatively to those who have decriminalized drugs, simply because instead of informing the public of the substances or situations that they're being involved with, you would rather just ignore it or ban the knowledge of it, thus increasing the curiosity. And curiosity leads to what, ladies and gentlemen? Experimentation. Because if they don't know about it, all you gotta do is fucking try it. And it's not that I condone people using drugs. Like, I don't think that using drugs is good for you, but there are some minor things that you could say it's good for. You know, whether that be creativity, artistically, or so on and so forth. I mean, take for example someone like Bruno Mars or Charlie Sheen. Two well-known cocaine users, both with very successful careers. And anybody that wants to tell me that Bruno Mars can't sing is a fucking liar. And he also has a lot of talent. And everybody that I know, the only reason why they watch 2.5 Men is because of whom, ladies and gentlemen? Actually, there's two people, really. It's Charlie Sheen and whoever the little kid is. I have no clue what his name is, but that kid's awesome. I mean, there's many people in the workplace. There's people in the workplace all the time that go get fucking wasted, absolutely wasted, and show up in the morning. Or sometimes they don't show up in the morning, or they feel bad all day long. But we make jokes about that, don't we? Man, I was so fucked up. Man, we got so fucking wasted, blah, blah, blah. I was throwing up all over the place, and we laugh and we joke about it, right? But how is that really any different than somebody using, you know, methamphetamines recreationally, or cocaine recreationally? I mean, really, how is that any different? Please, somebody explain to me how it's different. And, you know, tobacco kills over 400,000 people in the United States annually alone. And, you know, that's socially acceptable, yet illicit drugs are under 20,000 combined. And you people seem to think that drugs are the issue here. You know, it's kind of like blaming Mexicans in Texas, you know. I've heard many times that Mexicans are the biggest issues in America. Really? Because there's not that many Mexicans here. And let's be honest with each other, in that white people, mainly rich white people, commit the most heinous crimes. You know? Like fucking putting society in a downward spiral. I don't know what's worse. Some Mexican trying to come over here to better their life, or some rich cocksucker purposely taking money away from the middle class so that his pockets can get deeper and so that the economy can get worse. I don't know which one I would put on a higher podium. You take a fucking guess. But anyways, so the whole drug test thing is just, the whole philosophy on drug tests is wrong. It's just simply wrong. And not only that, but you can take drugs after the drug test. Wink, wink. You can take drugs as long as you want before the drug test. You know, we come up with more ways. You know, like you got a hair follicle test now that'll go back 6 months. You know, so what, I gotta live a fucking boring life for 6 months just to please you once? And then after this test is over, I can go back to doing whatever the hell I want to? Because it's supposed to be a freedom. It's supposed to be a choice. Not all drug addicts, or not all people that use drugs, are bad people, or criminals. And that's the same that goes with, you know, illegal aliens as well.